How'd you guys come out of that game injury wise?
Came out good. We're, the typical bumps and bruises, but, should have some further updates on Wednesday, but, nothing of significance.
Okay. And when you look back at the second half, now that you've had some time to look at it and process it and get over the emotions and everything, what went wrong? What do you think you can trace the couple things back to that would allowed you to win that game?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's as simple as, a couple things, you give them credit. They did a good job. I think, you capitalize on an early turnover. Verse does a great job. We end up going up 26-7. Then they end up responding with, a long, a touchdown drive with two explosives. We kind of petered out, but I think it boils down to, we gave ourselves a chance, having two kicks in short range, not lead to any sort of points when you can go up 8 or you can end the game. I was proud of the way that our team played. I thought there was a physical style of play. There was a toughness. You certainly give them credit for some of their great players making some plays, but we knew it was going to be that type of game. I thought we were able to play the game on our terms a lot of the time. And, we came up short, but there was a lot of positives that we can take away from this, a lot of growth opportunities, a lot of learning ops. And, I think early on this season to be able to have those while knowing that, man, it's, there's 161 total plays when you combine offense, defense, and special teams. And, you look at it, there's 3 seconds left. We got a 44-yard attempt. It's 26-27. And if I told you, all right, you don't know what happens right here, let's really talk about what do you think, what do you take away from this football game? And it just so happens we didn't make that play that changes the outcome of it, but there was still 160 plays that led up to that point. And I was proud of our group. I was proud of how I felt we were steady, even in spite of them making some plays to get back in it. But ultimately we didn't do enough right there. And I like the resolve and I like the look in guys' eyes right after the game. And today, as we're looking at it, for us to be able to move forward the right way against a great Indianapolis team coming in here on Sunday.
Thank you.
You got it.
Sarah.
Hey, Sean, do you expect Steve to play on Sunday?
We'll see how he's making good progress. So probably have a better feel for that once we get back out there on Wednesday.
After the game, Matthew said that physically he didn't like some of the throws he made. Now that you've watched the film, is there anything you saw related to that?
Well, I think just the standards in terms of the accuracy that he's accustomed to delivering the ball with consistently. I love the way that he has such high standards that he's earned because of the special player that he is. So it's just a couple throws that I think he would be accustomed to being able to make that he missed. And, I think one of the things that's cool about Matthew is the refreshing security to acknowledge that. And that's what allows him to move forward the right way. I mean, he certainly did a hell of a job in that 2-minute situation, taking us right down the field. Had some big time completions, to Puka and to Jordan Whittington, got us into some good looks to be able to convert some third down runs. And, we had a chance to be able to win the football game, but I think that's just a credit to his standards and the consistent accuracy that he delivers with the majority of the time. And there was a couple throws that, that he typically makes.
After the game, you talked about how you want your team to respond to this, or how you guys will learn a lot about yourself. Obviously different team, different situation, but one thing you pointed to the last 2 years was kind of the mental toughness this team had.
Yep.
How does going through the 1-4, 3-6 starts and making the playoffs the last 2 years kind of help this group know that, yes, it was just one game and we can move forward from that?
Well, I think when you've been a part of going through adversity and using it as a strengthening mechanism, where real growth demands a discomfort, you can draw on those experiences positively to say, I've been here before, I've navigated this. And the reality is all you can do is the next right thing. We would have loved to have won that game yesterday. We would have loved to have had a couple things that definitely probably changed the result of it. But that game is over with. We're a 2-1 football team. There was a lot of good things that we took steps in the right direction yesterday that was reflected on that tape. That's, that maybe, you don't get the result, but you can still, have some tangible progress and some things that you can always improve on. And that's coaches and players alike. But I think there's a vibe, there's a maturity, there's a mental and a physical toughness that I believe that this group has, that we'll see illustrated as we move forward. And, and you don't have time to wallow in some of the sorrows or some of the things that didn't go the way that we want. You've got to be able to look at it, correct it, and move forward so that it doesn't affect our preparation for a great football team coming in here on Sunday.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wyatt.
Hey, Sean. Karty's kickoffs seemed like, they were giving the Eagles some fits yesterday. How did you guys come up with that strategy before the season started?
Well, I think once you knew the uptick in just based on where the touchback was going to be going to the 35 from the 30 the previous year, I give Chase and Coach Kotwika a bunch of credit. They started to put together some plans and put their heads together and figured, all right, what is going to be the best way to approach this that gives this phase of our special teams an advantage. And certainly that's been a huge difference maker for us in the first 3 games. Josh has been a real weapon. Being able to hit, some of those liners or those squibs, however you want to really be able to look at it. And we've been excellent in that phase. I've been really pleased with that group, and the field position was a big advantage for us the majority of the day because of that.
And did analytics or anything factor into that decision, or was it more just taking a look at the rule and seeing what the best option would be?
Yeah, it was that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Nick.
Hey, Coach.
Hey.
Wanted to ask you just your thoughts and perspective on clock management, especially when it comes to that last drive, heading down into the getting into field goal range. What was your assessment of that?
As far as just in general?
Just in general, as far as just clock management, was there anything you would have done differently? Or you going to done the exact same?
I felt like we did a good job getting down into field goal range. Certainly some of those different situations, and where maybe if you had a different timeout, but I didn't feel like the clock was an issue for us getting to where we wanted to go. Obviously, we got the field goal blocked, so the closer you get, maybe you're saying you're minimizing that. But I like the way that we got down the field. When we were in a situation where we had 13 seconds left and 1 timeout, it was a 2nd down and 10. We ended up making what would have been a 51-yard field goal at that time, a 44-yarder with a really good 7-yard run. Ended up letting that bleed down. And, when we get it to the 26-yard line, those are really favorable situations. We had come into this game, made 23 straight field goals. Obviously, it didn't go down for us. And I'll never run away from the things that we need to be able to own and acknowledge. But I felt like where we got the football to and the way that we played that drive out and the way that the guys on offense executed was pretty clockwork.
Also, too, just as far as Matthew connecting with Davante and building that chemistry over the last few weeks, what have you seen that's really been impressive and really been able to be successful for you all as far as those two really connecting and really building that chemistry and that vibe for them to be able to be successful on the field?
Yeah, I think it's like anything else. Repetition's the mother of learning. I think they're continuing to grow. I thought it's a huge, long touchdown catch that they connected on yesterday. There was a big time in the 2-minute situation at the end of the first half where it was kind of a body shot on a little curl route. And then a little option route in the slot that we hit him on. And then he drew the PI on the 3rd down and medium range that we had where he was on the backside, ended up getting the PI that gave us a 1st down. And then there was a couple other ones that, we'll continue to work on and being able to connect. But these are 2 special players, and we're going to continue to grow throughout. And I think the more reps that they get, the better that they'll get because of the way they intentionally work at it.
Thanks, Coach.
You're welcome.
Brock.
Hello, Coach. So when it comes to those situations, especially the second half, when you have those short yardage on 3rd and 4th downs, how much do you weigh analytics in your in-game decision making?
Yeah, I mean, it's always a part, Brock, but I think, on the 3rd down and 1, we got a look that we thought was really favorable. Typically that can end up being, an explosive or a touchdown type of play for us. Just didn't go down. And then we had a little bit of a miscue with, how we're blocking that 4th down, based on, just some things that we anticipated with the movement of that front and didn't work out for us. But felt like those were hard goes in those situations. And, you give credit to Philly. They made those plays and we didn't.
When it comes to looking at those fronts and how they may or may not present themselves or shift during the play, how does Vic Fangio change things up to keep, offenses on their toes?
Oh, he's a great coordinator. I got a ton of respect for him. Mix some things up. I thought our guys handled it well. Obviously, that was a situation that we sorry, this light is so annoying. That that could have done a little bit better job, but like anything else, I thought our defense in a sudden change ended up getting the stop. We got the ball right back right there. So I was pleased with our ability to be able to handle that, but he does a great job. I got a lot of respect for Vic. He's as good as it gets.
When it comes to the mental toughness of this team, is that about the characters within the locker room, or does that also have to do with the culture you've established over the past 9 years?
The culture is always about the people, and these players are what make it special. I've really, you guys have heard me talk about this coaching staff. So people are everything. And your culture is really challenged and tested in moments like yesterday. What I did think that you can't feel unless you're in there. I was really proud of the resolve of the group to be able to come out, jump out to an early lead, and then they end up making some plays. We were kind of responding, ended up having some unfortunate things that didn't go down the way that we wanted. But then once they scored to make it 27-26, what a big stop on the 2-point play, and then really proud of, the way the offense went right down the field. And, and we gave ourselves a chance. And sometimes things don't always go the way that you want, but I felt a connected team. I felt a team that knows, hey, we're going to move forward collectively the right way. I felt a group stay connected in spite of a very frustrating, outcome based on how things unfolded. But I think the guys understand what it is and what it isn't, and how we're going to move forward is what's most important, and use this the right way. So it's always about the people. I think we've got some really special people in this locker room, really special people on this coaching staff, and really in our staff as a whole. And that's what the culture is about the people.
And then where is Jarquez Hunter in his development plan?
He's doing good. He's doing really well. Ron does an excellent job. Feel really good about what I've seen from Kyren and Blake each of the last couple of weeks. And, at some point we're going to need them, but those two guys are going to be the ones that we'll continue to lean on in the running game. And Jarquez will continue to, try to make his presence felt on special teams. And then at some point, we're going to need him, and he's got to keep developing. And that's exactly what he's doing in the background. And he's getting better as well.
And then my last question for you, coaches, are you still happy with that 65-35 split between Kyren and Blake?
Yesterday it got a little off. That's kind of what we're hunting up. But, I thought both those guys did an excellent job. I think it ended up being like 50-16. That was a little different. But, Blake kind of got banged up a little bit on one of those returns. So that kind of cost him some snaps that he would have had otherwise on offense. But I thought both those guys did a great job.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Gary.
Hey, Sean. It seemed like you, when asked about the block kicks, you kind of started to explain at least specifically what happened, but then stopped yourself. Can you take us through what happened on each of those block kicks now that you've had a chance to review them?
Yeah, we just gave up. If you're looking at it from the kicking lens, just over the left side, right, next to the long snapper. Gave up just a little bit of penetration where, two of their big guys that are excellent, being able to get some momentum, get up underneath, to get penetration and be able to get their hands up. On both of those kicks, we were just a little bit high with our pad level, didn't necessarily execute with the techniques and the fundamentals that we're capable of. And they ended up making those plays, and they do a great job. That's a phase that they've always been strong with. They've always leaned into that. You go back to even when Fletcher Cox was there, he was a big time problem. And then Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis have done an excellent job of making their presence felt. And it was unfortunate that ended up occurring on, 2 consecutive kicks, that would have been the difference in the game for us.
Do you, speaking of you personally, do you second guess, any of your strategy or play calls? And if so, which ones from yesterday?
That's quite a loaded question, Gary. Here's what I would say. We came out there to play to win the game. And I thought we played aggressive on both sides of the football. I thought that was reflected in how we approached special teams. There's always some play calls, where you say, I wish I would have put players in a better situation. There was a lot of instances that, we were able to get some of the looks that we wanted. And so I'm always looking at where I can improve. I think the main one that stands out was, we had a 3rd and 2 that was, that was in the third quarter where, we ended up running a play. We had a couple different plays called in that situation. And the one that we ran was not a good play. That was the one that stands out in terms of tactically. It felt like I could have put our players in a better situation. But the aggressiveness at which we went after it, whether you say it's the 3rd and 2, taking the shot from the 18-yard line when we ended up getting the 36-yard field goal blocked on the, to go up 8 points there. Don't regret that. Whether it was the 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1 sequence, so we came in with the expectations of being aggressive, playing to be able to win the football game. And I thought that was reflected in kind of how we did it. But I'll always be critical of, am I putting players in the most successful outcomes, and are we collectively as a staff? The 3rd and 2 play is one that, in the 3rd quarter when we were going right to left from our bench, that's one that stands out that I could have done better. Matthew ended up getting flushed and scrambled to the sidelines and ran out of bounds, short of the sticks. That was one where, that play call, that pissed me off pretty good. I could have been better for us there. But thanks for bringing it up.
And then finally from me, with Puka and Davante doing well, Jordan Whittington, it seems like he's developing. It seems like you're still struggling a little bit to get Tutu involved, or maybe you aren't, but it doesn't seem like he's getting a lot of targets. And I'm just curious what's been the problem with that, and how do you address it going forward?
Yeah, he's doing what he can control, Gary, and I think in a lot of instances, our job is to try to be able to win the game. There's a couple chances and some things that you try to call to get guys involved. Ultimately our job is to play the game how it unfolds. And, I've been really impressed with just the way that he's handled himself. Our job is to move the ball and score points. And, we moved the ball, pretty well, I thought, offensively yesterday. There was a couple chances that we didn't. Tutu did what he could control within the framework of what was asked of him yesterday. I love Tutu. But I think, and then I think a lot of stuff is made of, just trying to maximize guys, and there's only one football, but, I appreciate the heck out of the way that he's approached it. But I have been pleased with some of the different things that we were able to do yesterday offensively, and, we'll keep growing from it, and, want to try to be able to figure out a way to get him involved, but it still is about, moving the ball, scoring points, and those are the things that I'm the most interested in, while still taking advantage of guys' skill sets. And I've really been appreciative of how he's handled it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Adam, then Dennis.
Hey, Sean, the last 2 weeks, what kind of impact have you seen on Kyren in terms of having a little bit less of a workload on his shoulders?
Yeah, I think he's played really well each of the last 2 weeks, Adam. Yesterday he played a little bit higher snap count than maybe what we would have anticipated, but I thought he had a great vibe, a great energy. I think those two play off each other really well. I've been really pleased with a lot of the confidence that Blake has had, but I think Kyren's been excellent. I think he's been able to start and finish the games with, great energy, great sense of urgency, great sense of enjoyment for going out there and competing to the best of his ability. And then I think Blake's done a great job when he's come in there. So Kyren's been great. And, I think we feel really good about where both of those guys are at, and continue to lean into it and look for, a good balance of, being able to keep, Kyren feeling good throughout it, and take advantage of Blake's skill set as well. Kind of like I was talking about a little bit earlier.
And then what was your evaluation now today, just of the 4th and short decisions on whether to go for it or kick?
Which ones in particular are you talking about?
You had 5 opportunities, 4th and short in Philly territory, and you went for it once.
Yeah, are you talking about? Yeah, so I felt good about it. I think we played to win the game. I think, in hindsight, to go up 8 right there on the one where we're 26-21, we end up having a chance to get, Davante versus Blankenship. Felt like kicking it right there. Unfortunately, that gets blocked. And then there was a couple early ones in the first half, and, early on in the 3rd quarter where we're coming away with points. And I felt like just with the flow of the game, felt good about those decisions.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Dennis, we'll wrap with you.
Okay. Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. How do you expect Joshua to respond to yesterday?
Who's that?
Joshua.
Oh, he'll be good. He's a mentally resilient guy. I think what you realize is the field goal operation is a collective unit. We've got to do a better job of, the snap hold timing. I'm not saying we got to do a better job of that, but it takes the snap, the hold, the kick, takes great protection across the board, the timing, the trajectory of the kick. And so, we make kicks as a unit, we miss kicks as a unit, and he'll do a good job of responding like what he's shown, since he got here last year.
As a follow-up question, how important is it for your team to get out in front quickly on the road?
I think it is. I think it's always important to be able to jump out. And then yesterday, it's about how you finish a game. You give Philly credit for being able to do that. We had our chances. I like the way that we stayed steady in the midst of some of the different things that we had to kind of overcome. But this is a great learning op and a great opportunity for our group to be able to use this as a strengthening mechanism moving forward. To jump out to a 26-7 lead in that atmosphere, that environment, the way that our group played, the physicality and toughness that was displayed on the tape. I was proud of this group. There's a lot of things that we can build upon. And, we're certainly disappointed we didn't get the outcome that we want, but we also understand, that there was a lot of things we can build on. And then there's always going to be learning opportunities where, we can finish those games out. And, I think that's what you can expect from us moving forward.
Thank you, Coach.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, Blake. Seemed like you guys were, hitting the outside a lot on those runs, especially early in the game. What was working just with those outside zone runs?
Yeah, our cans. We knew going into the game, we were expecting them to get into a 6-1 front, and we knew we were going to be able to capture the edge. And from the offensive line to the receivers, especially like Jordan Whittington, blocking, whether it be a corner, nickel, safety, whatever it may be, we were able to attack them on the edge and have some positive plays.
And then as a kick returner, how much more difficult is it to play those balls off the bounce like, Karty was doing yesterday than, when you just catch it and head upfield?
Yeah, as you saw yesterday, they were having a real difficult time, catching those balls. But it's definitely difficult, just because of the spin of it. And then once it hits the ground, you don't know if it's going to go right, left to you, it might bounce and go over your head. So, just the repetition, we get those reps in practice, being able to possibly bat the ball down, then pick it up. But those, with the new rules, it's definitely a great play for kickoff. As we had great field position for our defense majority of the game, but it's definitely difficult and important.
Thanks, Blake.
Yeah, no problem.
Adam?
Hey Blake, thanks for doing this. It seemed like yesterday you guys were taking it in a stride, but just what has it been like today, dissecting what happened yesterday and trying to move forward as a team?
Yeah, we're built for it. That's kind of, what today was. We're built for it. The thing about, losing to the Eagles yesterday is, like Coach McVay said earlier, we just won't have an undefeated season. But other than that, we played a great game. If we capitalize on a couple more plays, we win. But, no excuses. The Eagles ended up winning. But, adversity, what can you do? Either you fold or you push through and you make something out of it, right? And so that's what, our mindset is, in the building today is, we have what it takes. It's just fixing some minor things here and there, keep playing hard. We played hard all game, man, especially in the trenches. So just learning from some of our mistakes and keep pushing. We have a good Colts team coming in, this weekend. And so now it's just preparing that and, having a good week's of work at practice.
We talked to you last week about how you guys were able to get the run game going late against the Titans. Did it feel at all like the momentum was able to carry over into this week, or is that too simple of a way to look at it?
No, I think the momentum definitely carried over. I think we were really intentional at practice last week, and you saw it from the jump. Like I said, our offensive line, they were dominating the scrimmage, and they have two phenomenal defensive tackles, and we were able to move them out the way. They were able to create holes for Kyren and myself. So I definitely think it carried over, and like I said, but it all starts in practice and it starts in the trenches.
And as a back yourself, how do you kind of react to some of the stuff Jonathan Taylor's been putting on tape this year?
Yeah, I think he's done a phenomenal job. You can see why he got paid a couple years ago. what he was able to do just this season, but especially against the Titans yesterday. Being able to make people miss, being able to get a good amount of yak and come out of tackles. He's a phenomenal back. That's what you expect from Jonathan Taylor. It's good to see. I'm happy for him.
Thanks, Blake.
And then we'll wrap with Gary.
Blake, thanks again for doing this.
Yes, sir.
Seems like the last two games you've been getting some more opportunities to kind of show what you can do. How are you feeling just from getting your legs under you and getting into a little bit more of a rhythm?
Yeah, I feel great, man. I put in a lot of work this off season. To go out and perform, like I have, the last 2 weeks. But, it's a credit to, the offensive line, the tight ends, the receivers, blocking really well. Coach G, coaching me really well. But, it's been great, getting my feet under me and being able to just go out there, play free, play fast, and help this team, and put them in good positions and help the team win ultimately. So it's been nothing but great. I can see how Kyren and I are feeding off each other. So it's been phenomenal.
And it seemed like on a couple plays yesterday, especially, like you were maybe one step, but break one more tackle to get to that third level.
Yeah.
Can you take us? Is that accurate? I mean, do you feel like
as a runner, right? You feel like anytime you touch the ball, you can take it to the house. That's my mindset. That's how I feel. I feel like I can make anyone miss, at any given moment. It's just about doing it, right? So when you look back at the film, you're like, dang, what if I would have hit him with this? Or what if I would have done that? So it's good learning ops, still good plays, but then you think about it like, how can I make this play even better, right? And so that's something I'm going to continue to work on, just making those good runs, great runs where they can be, 40 plus yard runs, those really, really explosive runs that can be game changing plays. So that's definitely something, I want to do. I know I can do it. But like I said, anytime, you could probably ask any runner, anytime they touch the ball, I feel like, I can take it to the house. But yeah.
Thanks very much.
No, thank you.
Alrighty, all set. Thanks, Blake.
Appreciate it, y'all.
Hey, Jaylen, thanks for doing this today.
No problem, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Just kind of, what's the mood today? Like, it seemed like you guys were kind of like taking it in stride yesterday, but like, how was it kind of going through the tape and kind of evaluating how everything transpired yesterday?
Yeah, man. Moves good. Of course, we wanted to come away with a win. Against those guys, but as a team, man, we're more connected than ever, and we're ready to go back to work. Just understanding the good stuff that we did do, some of the negative stuff that we put on tape, but just another opportunity to go back to work, man, and put our brand of football on tape and on film. So,
yeah. When you say more connected than ever, how do you measure that?
Just by like the energy and the mindset, just talking and having conversations with some of the other guys, like how do you feel about the game and little stuff like that, man, and just having that open dialogue, man, and just understanding that we all here for each other, and adversity is only gonna make us stronger. So that's just really how I measure it personally. So
I thought that your sack yesterday was a pretty good illustration of the violence with which you strike. Like this might seem like an odd question, but like how do you practice striking like that when like in practice, right, you're not going full contact and stuff? Like how do you work on that during the off season, during the season?
Yeah, just being intentional and the drills and stuff, our tackling drills and understanding like body position and just always practicing with good practice habits, good body positions, good body leans, and understanding when the opportunity comes, make the most of it. Hit in the strike zone and try not to get fined here in the league. So
what is, it's been something you've done the last couple of years, but just what is your comfort level at that dime backer now, kind of year two doing that?
Yeah, just continue to grow and continue to learn, and continue to find my play ups in the scheme. I enjoy being around the football. I enjoy being on the field, having the ability to make plays.
So wherever they line me up, whether it be in the box or back on the hash or just wherever it is, just being comfortable in my fundamentals and my technique and making the most of my opportunities.
Thanks, Tank.
Two.
Hey, Jaylen, kind of along the lines of what Adam was asking, just what's it like being able to, impact the game in that way? I mean, obviously you affected the quarterback last year with the 4 interceptions. This year you've already got 2 sacks. Just what you enjoy about being able to get the opportunity to make plays close to the line of scrimmage.
It's just playing football, man. Just being ready when like my number's called and making the most of the opportunities, like I always say. And it's not really just me, man. It's just playing within the confines of the scheme and other defense. And when Shula schemes something up, when Coach AP and Coach B give us our playoffs, just being being present enough to understand when those things like come to fruition and making the most of it for real. Like that's just all like I could really think of.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, indeed.
Gary.
Hey, Jaylen. It's going well. Thanks for doing this. Appreciate it.
All right, man. Thank y'all.
What is it about, those guys, the Eagles, that makes them, so tough for you guys to get past?
I wouldn't say it's them, more so than it is us. Give credit where credit is due. They're a well coached, well organized group, but we don't believe they beat us. We believe we beat ourselves, and that's really how the game goes, man. Especially like in the NFL, teams don't normally beat you. You usually beat yourself, and that's just kind of what it is with them. We got to find a way to continue to play our brand of football for 4 quarters, and not beat ourselves.
When you guys went back and looked at the tape or even just coming out of the game, the second half, their pass, they seem to get their passing game going much better than in the first half. What was happening on your guys' end in terms of them being able to do that?
We could go into a handful of details and things like that, but at the end of the day, man, it's sticking to our brand of football, and knowing when we gotta finish the game, knowing when we have our opponent on the ropes, we lean in more, we become more connected as a team, and we go out and we finish the drill. So,
and finally, for you, what's the biggest difference between year one, 3 games in last year and now 3 games in this year for you personally, just maybe in terms of confidence and everything else?
I mean, you could say like confidence, just going into OTAs and then going into training camp, really understanding the defense and what we're trying to get done. It's just living in that, man, and understanding my role on the team and understanding where I can make plays. I think the biggest thing from year one to year two is just like my body. Like just continuing to stay in the training room and on top of my treatment, man, so I can continue to be the best player I can be for not only myself but for this organization.
Thanks very much.
Yes, indeed.
And then we'll wrap with Brock.
Good afternoon. Could you dive more into, for you specifically, the impact Coach Pleasant and Coach Beak have had on you over, throughout your career?
Oh yeah, man. It's crazy because I believe those two are the best secondary coaches in the league right now, man. Just how involved and invested they are in the game plan and developing us not only to be like not only to understand the scheme, but to understand our techniques and how we can go out there and be successful. I appreciate Coach Beak and Coach Pleasant a lot for developing me, taking the time to really, improve my game, but also taking a chance on me, coming undrafted and a lot of people like overlooking you. They stuck their neck out and stood on the table for me. And it means a lot. So.
Since you have that perspective of being an undrafted free agent who has established a role for himself, what is it about the Rams organization in particular that allows for such rapid growth?
Just the culture, man. And they want you to be the best. They want you to be your best self as a man and as a player. And, the coaches do a great job of just like leaning on you and taking care of you and making sure that you're in the position to do everything that you want to do, whether that be whatever it is. They're going to put you in the best position to be successful, and they genuinely care about you, not only as a player, but as a man. And I think that's what makes this organization different and unique. It's always about the people, and Coach McVay preaches that, and he practices it. He practices it as well. So.
And then when it comes to having that open dialogue and handling that loss, how did having to fly back on a plane, being closed in a closed area together, impact the way you guys are able to process everything?
Yeah, man, you could feel it. You could just feel the energy on the plane coming back. It wasn't too many like smile and giggles. We dwelled on the loss on that 5-hour plane ride back to LA. But not necessarily on a bad note. It's more so we understand who we are. We understand who we can be. And it's just really living up to our standards and our expectations of ourselves. So
thank you, sir.
Yes, indeed. Thank y'all.
All right. Thanks, Jaylen.